I'm about to enter Season 2 in Call of Dragons in the next 24 hours. When that happens, all of my heroes and artifacts are going to be reset. So in this video, I'm going to put together the game plan. Which heroes am I going to pair together initially and level up first? And what artifacts will I use on them, and what pets do I think are the very best? Stick around in this video for the exact breakdown of what I plan to use going into Season 2, and these are probably the commanders and pairings you should consider as well. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and today's video is sponsored by the makers of Call of Dragons. And new seasons brings so much excitement for what you can bring onto the battlefield and which heroes you're going to focus on first. Because my understanding is that although your heroes are going to have their levels reset and your artifacts are going to have their levels reset, the good news at least is that I don't think your war pets get reset. So if you are at the tail end of a season, just remember to do a couple of things before the new season starts. First and foremost, go in and blast your way through all of your CP potions. I've got a few of them lying around. I'm sure I can find them somewhere, but the fastest route is going to be through here. Use all of your CP recovery items, and use them, by the way, to level up your pets. Battling Darklings seems to be the best way to go about doing that. In addition, when you take a hero to level 50, you sometimes get a pop-up bundle. The same is also true for artifacts when you bring them to level 30, 40, or 50. So consider leveling up your artifacts with any remaining dust you have at the end of the season in order to proc some of these bundles if you're going for them, and then buy those bundles if that's a thing that you're doing. So with all of that out of the way, let's actually let's put together the marches that I will use in the open field, and what I'm going to start by leveling up. Now, to do that, I'm going to just go to the Dragon Trail to get the March presets, okay, and the configurations over here. Let's build the 5 marches I'll use in this new season. Now, the first march that I'm going to use, hands down, has to be a Mage March. I mean, mages are crazy, man. So I'm going to go with Lilia and Velen. And that is an astonishingly good Mage March. It's so powerful. The pet that I'm going to use on Lilia is, of course, going to be the Sapphire Phaedrake. I obtained this when the pet system went live, and I've re-rolled its stats several times to at least land on intelligence being favored. I have not yet put skills on my pets. That's probably topic for a separate video. So this is my first march, and I'll save them into these presets over here, and we'll drop it into the map just so that it's really clear. Now, by the way, if you didn't have a Sapphire Phaedrake, you have plenty of other good magic pet options. You have the Thunder Lizard, you have the Ice Lizard as great options for a magic pet. And if you didn't have the Infernal Flame, I would say your next best option is hands down going to be the Phoenix Eye. Phoenix Eye is really good. And when I split Lilia and Velen, which I will do later in the season, then I'm going to use the Phoenix Eye on one of those marches. It's going to be the Velen. Now, let's deploy this. We've saved it. Boom. It's on the board. From here, I want to bring some Marksmen. Marksmen are crazy good. The 2 combos of Marksmen that I want to bring are going to be, firstly, Nico and Kanara. Nico and Kanara, especially when you awaken Kanara, have so much synergy. And it really is a package deal of Nico plus Kanara plus the Rattle Spear, okay, plus one of the rocks, and it is the Snow Peak rock. Here he is. It ain't much, so 1-star ability, but it's what I got, all right? It's what I got. Now, what is the synergy between all of these things? First of all, the active skill on Nico does a defense break, but we're not done. Kanara, when awakened, does a defense break, but we're not done. Because when you inflict a defense break, when you pick the Snow Peak Owl, you have a 30% chance to deal damage to the target legion. And that's pretty cool. It's only 36 damage factor, but I'll take extra damage wherever I can get it, right? In addition, the Rattle Spear makes it so that whenever you inflict a defense break, okay, your March gets defense penetration, ignoring 20% of the enemy's defense. So this is really wrecking the enemy in two ways. First of all, for all targets hitting your target, the defense break is amazing. Then second of all, the Rattle Spear makes it so that your March gets even more defense penetration on top. Remember, defense penetration is a buff to your March's punching power, and the defense break is a sort of reduction of the enemy's defense. For everyone who's hitting the target, they have less defense effectively. So this is the combination that I'm going to run with. Nico, Kanara, Rattle Spear, Snow Peak Rock. Love it. Let's lock that in. March number 2, save, and deploy. Good. We're on a roll, but we ain't done yet. The next March that I want to bring is going to be Marksman, because Marksmen are freaking cracked. So what Marksman am I going to use? Well, Sindrian is available. Now look, I didn't work on Sindrian because I don't know. I just wasn't convinced at the start of the season that like he was going to be the guy. And now that he's available in the daily special offer as well, and I believe we're going to get more Freygar wheels in this upcoming season, I stopped working on Freygar and I switched my daily sculptures and my daily special offer over to Sindrian, because now I'm going to work on him, try to finish out Freygar from wheels, although I'll have a little bit of overage on her sculptures probably, depending on how lucky I am or am not. And what pets do I want to use? And what artifact do I use? Well, the artifact is really easy. It's the Gold Crest, obviously. Okay, obviously. The Gold Crest is crazy. And, you know, I just want to give you a couple alternatives. If you didn't have the artifacts that I was describing earlier, okay, for Marksman, either the Rattle Spear or the Gold Crest, you have several outstanding options. First of all, Shadow Blades is amazing. So if you're running one Marksman March, bro, just enjoy the Shadow Blades. You don't have to spend a penny for these things, and they're very, very good. The other option that you've got, if we drop on down, okay, to the epic tier, is, let's see here, where is it? It's not the Butcher's Blade, it is the Heart Piercer. Now this also, by the way, has a defense break, which is pretty cool. So keep that in mind. This will not stack with Nico's defense break, so you wouldn't want to use this right around when he does an active skill. But this thing would be good on any of the heroes for Marksman that we've talked about so far. So you've got two really great options, and I can't believe that closed out of the challenge. But don't worry, we made presets, so this is really easy to jump back. Ay, ay, ay. All right, so we got March number 1, Lilia with Velen. March number 2, Nico and Kanara Rattle Spear with the Snow Peak Rock. Then Sindrian Freygar, as I was describing, with the Gold Crest. And on top of that, the pet that I am loving is actually the Sand Lizard. And you may be like, no, not the Sand Lizard. For real? But like, yeah, for real. So what does the Sand Lizard do? The Sand Lizard heals. And it doesn't seem like much, but what it does, it is healing up to 4 targets every 6 seconds. And, I mean, look, let's talk about ranged combat. A, any sustain you can get to that is amazing. Kind of offsets the counterattack damage that you're taking. But B, you always end up in stacks of players when you fight ranged in this game in any size group fight. Almost any size group fight. So yeah, the Stone Aura on the Sand Lizard is great. Now, the Sand Lizard does require physical damage for this ability to work. In other words, the troop type you need to bring cannot be a magic troop type. So this is great for Sindrian and Freygar. If you can think of something better to use with Sindrian and Freygar, I'm certainly interested to know what that would be. But when I looked at all of the pets that are available to us at this time, I thought, man, if there's any spot for the Heal Lizard, this is it. And I have been really enjoying it so far. So this gives me 3 marches so far. And they're good. But we're not done, because I've got to round things out. And you know that we need to talk about infantry at this point, because I have been working on infantry for a while. Now, I will argue that infantry is a low priority for folks that are not tier 5, but by the time you're getting into season 2, I mean, you've got infantry you've passively trained, right? So you probably can be and should be fielding a march of infantry beyond just your ability to go and, you know, build roads and build flags and destroy flags, okay? So what would I recommend? I mean, I think Madeline with Nika is just such an obvious choice. It's got the right balance, I think, of punch and tankiness. You could theoretically go Madeline Garwood for a more tanky option. That would change around some of the other aspects of the recommendations I'll make to you here, but I think this is a great way to go. The free-to-play way to go is also really good. With Nika and Garwood, you can pair them together, or Nika and Bakar. Bakar should be the primary in that instance. That's a really good way to go for just high damage infantry. You need to be a little bit careful with them, okay, though? They could get focused out pretty easily, but infantry are important. My choice will be Madeline with Nika. The dragon scale armor is just really good. I mean, look, I think infantry are just meat shields. They really are. And yeah, you can eke out some counterattack damage, but they're really just meat shields that hold a position. So to do that the best, the dragon scale armor is amazing. If you didn't have the dragon scale armor, you do have some options. I think defensive stats are really ideal. So your next best option defensively probably ends up being the Fang of Ashkari at the legendary tier. If you didn't have a Fang of Ashkari, I mean, you could go with damage with the Dragon Rift or the Springs of Silence. You could theoretically drop down to the epic tier if you wanted to, although these are kind of punchy. The Spirit Bangles are a magic thing, so that's not really where it's at. I mean, I'm inclined to believe you've got one of these legendaries, okay, and you use one of those. The Dragon Rift, the Springs of Silence, or the Fang of Ashkari, or, in an ideal world, the Dragon Scale Armor, okay? Now, the Dragon Scale Armor. Whew. You put that on there, and what pet goes with all of this? As it turns out, it's the cute and cuddly little Frost Bear. The Frost Bear synergy is just too good. It's kind of crazy. Your Legion gains primitive strike whenever you gain a shield. There's a 40% chance to deal damage to the target Legion on being hit by a normal attack for the next 5 seconds. And I'm pretty sure I've seen this trigger against multiple enemies in the same turn. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. And this can trigger like many times. It does not seem like there's an internal cooldown. This thing is so good, and it is such obvious synergy for Madeline doing shields, but also the Dragon Scale Armor does shields. And yes, I have looked in the logs. Activating your Dragon Scale Armor activates the primitive strike effect. So this thing is freaking awesome. I'm going to deploy this. I got an error in the mission. Yo, I was literally staring at the mission for too long. That is incredible. So this brings us to 4 marches so far. And the last thing we need to do is pretty obvious. In fact, as I bring my marches back out, take a second to think about, hey, wait a minute, what is the one thing Chisgule is missing here? And the thing that I'm missing is obviously some cavalry. So what cavalry are we going to bring? Well, let's just make sure we bookmark this guy real quick, add it to the presets, and we've got our infantry locked in. Now, this is where things go off the deep end, and I think I'm benching Bakshi and Emrys. Is that weird? Is that so weird? But look, I can only level up so many heroes at the start of the season. And do you know what heroes are not going to matter? It's the cavalry. They matter the least. I'm not saying you can't do cool stuff with cavalry. I'm just saying I have not, to this date, found a way to mobilize cavalry effectively in big group fights, which are dominated by mages and archers, marksmen, okay, and infantry. And if you bring cavalry, you'll get focused and dunked. That has been my experience. So if I'm doing backfield disruption, okay, I'm sneaking around. It's typically these days not with ground cavalry anymore either, because barricades are too disruptive. So if I'm going to get around all the barricades, then I'm going to have to fly. Now, in order to fly, I'm going to have to use the new legendary cavalry flying hero. Now, I'm going to use Craig as a placeholder. I understand he is not the flying hero that I'm talking about. I think it's Ferrando is the new legendary flying cavalry hero. I'm going to use him, and I'm going to pair with Thea. And that might sound weird to you, but why am I doing that? Because I want to ideally use Forest Eagles, but when I'm not using Forest Eagles with a straight face, I can actually still go and use cavalry. For me, it's Elk Riders. And that's going to work just fine. And the good thing about that for me, I think, is that because cavalry gets so damn focused, the shielding on the Thea is not the worst. Am I saying this is the best cavalry combo in the world? Absolutely not. What I'm trying to convey to you is the critical nature of making economical choices at the start of the game. Rather than level up or try to level up a zillion heroes, but be under-leveled for the fighting, I'm going to focus on leveling 5 marches of heroes to enable all my different troop types. Now, I'm going to put the Spring Blades onto this march. Spring Blades is not going to get nearly as much synergy as it would have otherwise with the passion effect. Kind of is what it is. There's 2 ways to slice that. One is to go and use the Berserk Phaedrake. And with Ferrando, who has the Cowardice effect, I'm going to get a bunch of stacks of this sort of debuff ability. I'll take advantage of the Arrogance effect. That could be pretty cool. The alternative, because I'm using Spring Blades, is that if I could catch one of these owls, the Golden Rock, with a special talent, what I could do is get one of those guys trained up, and their ability, their talent skill, okay, is going to make it so that I gain passion, or if I have passion, I do damage. But remember, the way that Spring Blades work is that when you gain passion, you get keen. See? So I think in my perfect world, I would actually have one of the Golden Rocks. I tried to catch one. I couldn't get one with a talent. It is what it is. So I think I'll probably start with my Berserk Phaedrake, and I'll just go from there. Okay? And maybe I'll catch a new pet in the new season. In fact, I'll catch plenty of those new pets. So for now, I'm going to deploy the Phaedrake. Remember, this is the new cavalry commander, available, by the way, on the very first days of a new server from the special wheel that shows up for like the first 3 days of the server's life. And then Thea, again, is a weird choice, seemingly. But what I want is 2 cavalry heroes or cavalry compliant heroes that can fly. And look, I used Thea with Craig all season long. So I would think that replacing Craig with an actual flying cavalry hero would be even better than using Craig, right? So again, Craig is the placeholder, Ferrando with Thea. The other advantage of using Thea is that when I'm ready to bring new heroes into the mix and start to level them up, one option that I will have is to pair Thea with one of my mages and then Waldir with the other one. Now, you may, as an astute observer, have noticed something significant here, which is that if I go this route, then I'm leaving Hosk on the bench, which kind of sucks. Like, I need to think about that and go, is that really what I want to do? But the thing is that I can't think of what else I would do. I'm very happy with my mages, and I want another March of Mages later in the season. I'll split Velen and Lilia in order to accomplish that. My marksman combos are going to be the freaking jam. And like, yeah, I'll probably put some universals into Sindrian to get him past 5-2-1-1. But I'll wait to do that until we're about to do some fighting, and then I'll invest him in a bunch and see where that goes, okay? So I'm not messing with Sindrian and Freygar. That's going to be the freaking jam. Those two work together so damn well. So where am I putting Hosk? I mean, it's not my infantry combo. I'm not messing with Madeline and Nika. That's hard to argue with, man. So, I mean, my only other option is to ditch a cavalry march entirely. Do I think that's a good idea? Hell no. I'm already I can't believe I'm ditching Bakshi and Emrys. I might at some point in the season level them up. It's funny to spend a bunch of money on Bakshi over here. I practically have him awakened. I am shockingly close to a Bakshi awakening. I'm just going to bench him. The only other option, okay, would be instead of Thea to start the season using Bakshi with Ferrando. Okay? And the advantage of doing that is that, okay, I go in and I'll hit harder with my cavalry on the ground, but then I'm not going to have somebody to fly around with later when I want to go and fly. So, like, that's a little awkward. So, I don't know. That's one tweak I might consider. For now, that's my game plan, but definitely let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. There are so many good cavalry artifacts. It's actually shocking how many good cavalry artifacts there are. Okay? But I don't even want to use cavalry these days. It's super weird. It's super weird. Other than flying cavalry, which is still the most fun I've had in Call of Dragons. Now, if you want to see all the festivities when the new season opens up, subscribe to the channel. I'll be making videos covering all the new events and all the happenings that take place in our new season. You're not going to want to miss it. If you're looking for my overall tier list of heroes or artifacts, I'll have cards for both of those videos in the end screen in a second. I hope you'll check them out. And until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.